Welcome to episode 7, guys. So happy to be here. So happy to be doing this one more time with you guys. And episode 7 being a big episode, and having such a cool person on today, our good friend Hannah, who is such an advocate of Off the Bench podcast and has been a day one, you could say.
Yeah, so, she's for sure, like, since we released our first episode, she's been like shouting us out. So that's really cool to have an actual fan.
Hype girl.
For
yeah,
real,
hype
for
girl.
Hype girl. There we go. But yeah, Hannah, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you guys so much for having me here. Like you guys said, I've been listening since day one. Every Tuesday, it's the first thing I do when I'm either working out or getting ready in the morning, and then after school I listen to it too, because it's usually like an hour, so
really?
that time period in my morning is not too long. But
right.
I love being here, so thanks for having me.
No, for sure. And you know, you mentioning, right, that you are a school teacher, and right when I remember we graduated, Sam Houston around the same time, and I saw you go into your field, and really just like I would say like you speared the position, like you were just going forward, and like you can just tell from the get-go you had so much passion. And I mean I'm just the way you post to social media, and it looks so genuine, honestly, and you can just tell you're just like such a young leader in your in your field, right? Is what drives you for having so much passion in that?
Honestly, I've always been like an all or nothing person. There's no in between for me. Mm-hmm. And I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I didn't ever have like a story. Like everybody has like a sad story that they're like, this teacher picked me up when I was down, mm-hmm. and they led me to my path of success. And that wasn't the case for me. I just genuinely loved learning. I still genuinely love learning. And I had really good teachers who supported that through my whole life. And so I knew that if I wanted to like instill the passion that I have to give it 110% every day in the classroom, mm-hmm. which obviously comes with some challenges.
Of course.
But I have to do it because at the end of the day, there's 100 eyes watching me, and they're watching every move I make. And if I'm giving it 50%, they know that it's okay to give 50%.
Really? Yeah,
so I have to understand that it's game on. When I walk in the door, it's all smiles. When you leave, handle whatever you need to handle.
Of course.
But while you're in the building, it's got to be 110%.
And I feel like that's very important that you say that, like giving 110% as a teacher, because you've always heard, like, I mean, every like cartoon or song or whatever, they're always like, school's out for summer, right? Or like they always show like how happy kids are whenever they're leaving the school, and I feel like that's because the teachers aren't fun, right? They're not mm-hmm. giving 110%. So I mean, I just wanted to ask you, like, did you ever have a teacher like that kind of like helped you and motivated you, that you were really touched by it?
And I'm still tight with Miss Giggy. Shout out, she was my 8th grade teacher. I just like specifically remember that she always let us have a voice in her classroom, which I think was important and which has helped me really, like, weird. 8th grade year was like a pivotal leadership year mm-hmm. for me, inspired by her, but also she let us have a voice, but her teaching was just odd. Like, it was just oddball teaching. And that's cool. She'd be happy that I called her odd. Right. And I remember one time we had to read the Yellow Wallpaper, and I don't really remember what genre it's in, which I guess doesn't really matter to people listening in general, but
they're looking it up right now.
Yeah,
they're fact checking it right now.
I remember that it was like a very eerie story, and like as she read it, she like crept around the room, like she was real spooky season. She was just weird. And I was like, that's what I want to do all the time.
Right. So she was a reading teacher?
Yeah, she was a reading teacher.
Okay. Right. That's what I've learned too, because like, so for this month I've been reading every day, And I've noticed that like whenever you start reading, you kind of you have like a monotone reading voice as a person, like as yourself, right?
So some people don't actually.
I know that's
Isn't that weird?
That's
like
so weird.
Some people can, like, when you read words, you hear them in your head. There is like a population in the world who doesn't, and I don't know what that's like, and I don't think I ever will, because I'm always narrating any part of my life.
Right.
Yeah, because I started reading like so I looked up some YouTube videos because I used to read when I was like in the 5th grade, you know, like just like
PowerPoints.
No, it was those Goosebumps, remember?
Yeah,
those books?
still popular, still very popular.
Yeah, the Goosebumps book. So I used to read those, and I remember I used to know how to read. Well, I mean, I've always known how to read, but like read with intention, kind of like spooky, right? And I remember once, like after high school, I tried to read a book, but I wasn't really like keeping stuff in my head, and I was kind of just like, I want to go back to my phone now. So I started looking up some YouTube videos like how to read better or whatever, and all of the videos that I saw were suggesting that you start reading some kind of like something with like facts or stuff like that, right? That doesn't include a lot of emotion, where like you have to be like, oh, watch out or whatever, right? So I started reading like a couple of like society and social books or whatever, and I started teaching myself, and I feel like that a lot of people miss that, like that don't have that way of reading or whatever.
Yeah, I think
maybe
that
it's a skill you have to develop.
Yeah, it's it's a development skill, but you have to have an educator who's going to facilitate love of learning and reading, and not just you have to read this because the school gave me these chapter books and we have to read them. Like, you really have to take it on. I don't get to read much in my classroom because I'm science and social studies, and for the last 4 years I taught math. So I've never been a reading teacher. But I try to encourage it with my kids, because I think people forget we're in such a beautiful country that has a lot of privilege and opportunity, but we still have a very large population of people who are illiterate. And so if you encourage it now, you're going to eventually break what's going on. Because, I mean, I have kids right now who are 10 years old and they write on a first grade level or read on a first grade level. And it all goes back to like fundamentals and developing. And do you read at home with your kids? Like, honestly, do you read at home with your kids? Do you have the captions on your TV? That's a very easy step to get people reading more. So there's like all these little steps you can take, and with driving passion behind it, and me encouraging, being like, yeah, I'm a math and science brain, but I love to read because it gives me knowledge. I think it helps my kids understand, like, oh, we have to learn to love to read too, because education is the only way out of whatever situation you're kind of in. So
it's so awesome that you have that perspective. Like, honestly, like.
And do you think that's a major problem? Like you said, you have kids that are reading at a first grade level. You think it's a problem that starts at home, or?
Yes, I mean, well, so obviously there are some issues that come, like dyslexia. That's like not something that you can prevent necessarily. But if we just started more in homes, taking more steps, but that's going to be a whole other like level of getting parents to care more. But if we just start somewhere, reading to your kids every night, like, I don't know about you guys, but I never really struggled with reading ever growing up. But my mom or grandpa read to me every single day. And like a good tip for like parents who listen is like, start a book and then have your kid predict the ending. So like start the conversation, start reading, start identifying words, and then they start making these deeper connections, which ends up making a deeper love for reading. There's so many little steps we can take like that.
Is that to make sure they're actually understanding?
Yeah, because we have a hard time with reading comprehension. Like, I have one student in particular that if he can read the whole page of whatever we're reading, like we're learning about the colonies right now, so we're reading about the Mayflower Compact. Shout out. And, you know, we can read it together. I can read it to him, but within 5 minutes, he won't remember it. So it's developing these little skills over time. But everything, I mean, as a teacher, I know that everything starts at home. And I think that's what makes me a good teacher as well, is that I know that I can only do so much. And I'm going to give it my all when I can give it my all. And then I have to understand that when I walk away and I've done the best I can. And that's really all I can do, is the best I can.
I had a question. So I don't know how it is because I want to go back to that because you said y'all are now teaching like the Mayflower stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's like with the pilgrims and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I remember in like was it like third grade, I guess, whenever I was learning about that in Jensen Elementary.
Shout out.
Shout out Jensen, all my Jenseners. But anyways, I remember they for fun, right? They would let us like for I guess the art part of whatever. So we would like create like little headbands with the little feathers in the back,
Yeah.
or like a paper bag kind of like to put over you,
Yeah.
or whatever. And now with all this like cultural
Do
appropriation,
you think that can
all this
happen right
stuff,
now? You think?
I
Do you want to talk
Like,
about that?
No, yeah, let's talk. Yeah, we can talk about it. So,
like, so how is it now? Yeah, basically. that's the
so
short one.
probably in a metropolitan city, that would not be happening.
Right.
I teach at a place that's called the Santa Fe Indians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think that's gonna stand up?
So the population in Santa Fe is very against changing the names. It has always been kind of conversation. I can remember back to like when I first started school in Santa Fe in 5th grade, the debate was we should change it to the Santa Fe Trains because Indians is not appropriate. So as a teacher, especially a social studies teacher right now, I've been doing this thing where instead of posting about things right away, I'm like videoing myself, like talking about it just to like almost vent like a video journal.
Right.
And I was talking about being a social studies teacher the other day because it's so challenging in
Especially
this
right
time.
now. Oh my God.
So I definitely think schools still do the feather headdresses, the vests, things like that. But I try to respect everyone's beliefs and just tell my kids, like, we are not going to do that. And when we are talking about the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, like the diction we're using is Native Americans. And it's okay that our school is, Santa Fe Indians. That's cool. It's just not me. I'm not going to own a Santa Fe Indian shirt. But I'll be like Santa Fe Strong or whatever.
Right.
So I think it's just like making those little connections and, really pushing with my kids. Because we talked about this the other day because we looked at clips of Pocahontas and how some of it was true and some of it was very fabricated.
Right.
And we looked at a cartoon clip about, it was like 2 Native Americans and the Pilgrims like coming up on shore on the Mayflower. And the cartoon clip was, how long do you illegal aliens plan on staying here?
Oh, wow.
And so I told the kids, I was like, so what do you, like, have you heard this before? Like, what are your thoughts? And we get to have these really deep-rooted conversations. And
That's awesome that you're exposing him to that.
yeah,
Thank
and
you so much.
because I didn't have that opportunity, and I learned it just growing up on my own almost.
Of course.
So my goal and what I tell them is that you're not going to know my religion. You're not going to know my political beliefs. You're not going to know my beliefs on anything. You're just going to learn the facts with me. And the fact is, we're going to call them Native Americans because that's what they are. So
Can I just say thank you for that? Like, thank you for being that type of teacher to our youth.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that kind of like warms my heart, even as a parent. That like I hope my child has a teacher like yourself who is just focused on just truly improving. Like you can just tell on what you say right now, like your kids is like life and perspective, and they're gonna grow up and choose their own beliefs.
right.
But you're even respecting that. And
Yeah,
you're just
and I've
trying to
supplied them
help
with the
grow.
facts. So, it's been tough.
And since like
dope.
Columbus Day just happened, since we're like in the
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day. But so whenever I started, you log into your Facebook, right? And you start seeing all of the bashing of Columbus or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's because it's rightfully so. I think so, man.
Yeah, I wanted to get her thoughts. Like, what did you?
Yeah, so I have a
Right.
very mixed population of
So
students.
hold on,
this
sorry.
year.
So like what I saw on Facebook was people saying like Columbus didn't discover anything. There was already
People
thousands of
already
people
here.
here. There was already a bunch of
Right.
people.
And he was like a #1 contributor to like slave trade. So
And so many other bad things.
yeah, and like not really a shout out to him. So this is how I explained it to my kids, like in just like the most simple terms, because like I teach a very mixed population. I teach a GT class, which is
I was in
gifted and
GT.
talented.
Shout out.
Yeah, I teach like a regular education class, and then I teach ESL students, which is English as a second language. So I'm kind of all
Super
over
dope.
the spectrum there. And one of my GT students, I was really proud. She was like, why did we call it Christopher Columbus Day if he wasn't really a great guy from what you said? And I said, well, there's really beautiful parts of history and there's very ugly parts of history, and we just have to learn to acknowledge it, and we're going to move forward. And that's when we changed the name to Indigenous Peoples Day. And it was just interesting to hear, like, well, why would we celebrate that? I'm like, I don't know. Why do we celebrate bad things? I'm wondering this every day of 2020, man. Like,
it's stuff that was normal back then, though.
Yeah.
We can't really blame the guy for something. I mean, like I said before, you can't blame
great quote
the ignorance of the past with today's knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like in the future, they're gonna judge us for eating so much meat, for not having guns restrictions. I mean, you can't really blame the guy for everything he did if it was normal
you
back
can't,
then.
but that's a valid point.
I think the thing is, you can't really blame him, but do you think it should be changed, or do you think it should stay the same?
Should, because those are some people's ancestors. Like, people, like, they're not us. It's just like, for someone to tell us, like, oh, it doesn't matter, bro. You aren't that good. It doesn't matter. Sure. It's like, that's their pain. We have our pain. It's not okay for just to.
I think as long as you know, like, both sides of the story, like, we all know that there's two sides to every story, and that goes in your everyday life, but it goes into history as well. So with, like, the changing of names and everything that's going on, and like Christopher Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, I think it's just really important to know both perspectives, and then you make your own judgment off of that. Right. And that's kind of what I've been telling the kiddos.
But it's just like a weird paradox, because it's like, it was something so, now that we know it was so ugly, but it's just part of what history was. It's part of what needed to happen to uncover this new world. But it's just what life is, right? It's always two sides to it.
And I was listening to a podcast that said all these people bashing Christopher Columbus on Facebook for slaughtering, I don't know, what was it, thousands of people.
And Native Americans.
They were already doing that to themselves here.
That is very true. I want to learn more about that because of our boy Joe Rogan. He talked about that stuff, about just learning more about their cultures, more in depth about how Native Americans live, because there was people, a population of people who lived here in America for a very long time and had their own cultures and ways, and they were very violent. So it's very interesting, for sure. But
something.
Oh yeah, I had something. So I was gonna say, because I've switching up a little bit of the topic here. I follow you on Instagram, and I always see you posting like not political stuff, but you always let your thoughts be known on Instagram. And I was wondering, like, with those, with your platform that you have, like, what do you hope to, like, because I see you as an influencer, I really do. And
Same.
Thank you.
You're a leader.
Yeah. So I was wondering, like, with your platform, what do you try to correct or showcase to your audience?
There's, like, so many points of views. I really want everyone to know that you can, if you live in America, you can be uniquely yourself. And I really, truly believe that. Because I would say I'm on the blue wave. I'm riding the blue wave, and I am a little bit more liberal in a lot of different senses. But I'm a liberal who has her CHL, and I carry a handgun. And and I know how you guys feel about guns. I remember the other episode.
I'm all good for it.
And
not.
I have.
I don't think people should own AR-15s,
yeah,
but
totally
handguns, shit, I'm all for it.
And you know, and I've grown up in a conservative town, and I think, like, just my expressing these points of views on social media is like, you can come from anywhere and you get to choose who you want to be. You get to choose your path in life, and I feel like that's what I'm always preaching, and just educating people. I feel like my constant platform is constantly trying to, like, spread awareness and bring education, because just in the conversations you can have an awakening with somebody that you know on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like, especially this year, and you guys probably feel the same way, I feel like every time I'm around somebody, I have a political conversation and I'm learning something new, because I'm not the know-all be-all. So I take in that knowledge and then I share what I've learned, and then if people agree, great, and if they don't agree, that's cool, because that's the right that they have. And I'm trying to show that we can all be so different and still be kind to each other.
That's beautiful.
And I've heard, like, a lot of people are like, well, it's not about being kind. Like, this is just blatant, you know, whatever the topic is. Like, if we're talking about racism, it's blatant racism. Kindness is not an option, but it's like, you get to choose how you treat that racist. Or you get to choose how you treat the person who is hateful and what they said to you. And I'm going to choose kindness at the end of the day, because I know I don't know what's going on in their life.
Exactly.
I don't know how they're living. I don't know the opinions they have, but I know that just because they've treated me this way in this moment doesn't mean it's a lifetime thing. And I'm going to keep my head up and move forward because I've done what I can.
Right. And I have to ask, because as like just hearing these like last 20 minutes of or whatever the time is, what made you like would have this such cool perspective, because you're clearly, I feel like, what I hear from different people, like I feel like you have a certain peace within yourself of like you are aware of who you are, you're confident in who you are. So you have just like a kindness you just want to spread. And it's like, because I've also seen, like how brave you are, like even like on Facebook, right? Where it's, like you say, I mean, I know what Santa Fe is. It's a conservative area, right? And you're brave and you speak your mind still, right? So what kind of just drove you to be that way?
I've had this, actually, weirdly enough, my dental hygienist asked me a question very similar. She was like, what made you become like a leader and so outspoken? And I really don't have it. Like, I don't have a straightforward answer. I've always been a leader. My parents pushed me around leadership. But I've become a leader that knows how to listen. And I think listening is like a lost trait right now. And so I think if I can show being a leader also means listening.
Definitely.
And learning. And if I can be courageous enough to say, I know I influence people. Like, I know what I say has power. And I also know what I do has power. So I'm just going to show 100% me all the time. And then I hope people become more genuine. They have these more honest conversations with other people and themselves. They become more listeners, and then they drive themselves to confidence and leadership. But there's not like a pivotal moment. It was just that was just an expectation. And I think that's why I'm an all or nothing person. Like nothing in my life has ever just been an option. It was an expectation. Right. And I think if there's like one thing in life that we can all do is just set the expectation high, set the bar high, and achieve and continue to achieve. Like check in with your goals, go back, achieve more.
Right. And I know you're doing that like 100-day. How's that going for you?
It is intense.
Getting
Wait, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Explain to us.
So I started, I think it was like September 19th. It was one of those days in there was 100 days till the new year. So basically, you know how everybody starts their resolutions on January 1st. Right. It's a hot mess express. Everybody goes to not Fitness Connection, but other gyms. And
Planet Fitness.
Yeah, they go to these other gyms and they get on the grind or whatever, but it eventually burns out. So I do Beachbody, that's the workout program I do, which is like a virtual workout program. And it has like a bunch of different exercises. That's how I started liking boxing. And I think that's why I started following you like more intensely, because you're always boxing.
Well, kickboxing,
yeah, things like that. And so my team, we needed just some pep in our step. So I was like, for the next 100 days, we're going to start our resolution now, make a goal. And basically every day we have to have 30 minutes of activity, 20 minutes of personal development, however that looks for you, and a gallon of water a day.
Wow.
And
those are some healthy habits right there.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot. But if you start it now, I mean, where would you be in 100 days? And I try to always maintain healthy habits, but one thing I know I for sure put on the back burner is the water, because I teach all day, so I talk all day, which doesn't allow bathroom breaks all day long.
Right.
And so I really try to just get other people to get their life on track, not because of being skinny or being the most fit or you're getting ready for summer 2021, but because you don't know what's going on the inside of this body, and you just need to treat it well, because you get one body and one life, so do the best you can with it.
Man, that's
I can totally relate with that, because even though, I mean, how you were saying that it's not about being skinny or whatever, I also think like for me, like starting to see like some clothes fit or whatever, it's like a really big upper. Like it makes you...
I'm gonna tell you something, Martin, bro. You have a different swag right now, man. I can notice it. Like, can you notice it?
Yeah, you just...
like you've gone... Because, so Martin, shout out Martin. He's been going through, with Felipe and different stuff like that. Big accomplishment, getting his fitness together. And I see you posting it. And also, man, because, like, intellectually, too, you've been reading. You've been killing it, bro. Like, you have been on it. So, it's so cool. but like commends to you, and I love seeing the swag you come with now. Like you can definitely tell, and attest to that feeling of like, you know, where you also out there and preaching, like for working out and staying healthy, happy, and active, right? Because it's so good for your mental, physical health. So.
I guess I get a lot of this motivation that I don't know why I just recently started getting it, but I was listening to Joe Rogan's, like, I guess, podcast. This is the reason why we start a podcast. This is the reason why we talk and stuff. But I mean, he's always talking, like, the one that hit me was he was doing a podcast. I can't remember who it was with, but he said, and all these people who say that, oh, it's because I don't got time, like,
it's
those are the fucking worst people. Yeah. And that was my excuse all the time. I was like, I go to work in the morning, and then, I mean, I go to work during the day. Yeah. I come home and I have to just chill and sleep. Like, that's what it is. But no, there's so much time everywhere that you can, like, nip in the butt. Like, you know, like, for reading, I start reading every time I eat. So when in lunchtime, you don't need your eyeballs to eat lunch, right? So
look at you, man.
Yeah, I'll be like reading and like eating my food, and then working out. Like, there's no reason why you have to get home and sit in the couch and watch TikTok.
Right.
You can come home, change, go run and do your workouts. Come home, eat and read at the same time.
Right.
And then if you have like any free time, you can put it in whatever you want, right?
Has there ever been a phrase that, while you're talking to somebody, it can be a random ass person, that changed your mindset? Just a small phrase that you remember in it.
Well, I would even say, I mean, yes, to your question, yes, and I can say both of y'all, because there has been times, I kid you not, Hannah, when like you posted like your 5:30 in the morning workout, and you know my habit, I get my phone, wake up, and then it's a bad habit. I check my social media, and then I saw that, and I was like, I don't have my first meeting till 8:30. It is 6:50. I have a bike in my garage, and I went in there and I got a workout. And of course, I'm not gonna hear and like message you like, hey, but like, you know, at the same time, it's like, it's so cool because like, you know, you just posting that like made my day better, right? So and like one time you posted like you're reading, and then the other day I read for like a whole hour. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that awesome of like positivity and spreading it. And I guess that's one of the beauty of social media, right? Because I mean, there's so many negatives, because there is, right? A lot, but those are the positives, and those are the awesome things. Those are the things that I like to follow too, right? Of that positivity and motivation. Because this is just me actually like voicing it out, but I'm sure there's other people who also had the same exact.
I think that's what you have to think about with your social media. Is like, even if you don't think anyone's paying attention, somebody's paying attention to you. So even little things you do can affect someone else's day. But going back to what you said, I think a quote that I've heard is, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So if you get on Instagram and you're seeing these fitness models or whatever, they are gifted, hopefully, with the same 24 hours you woke up to. So what are you going to do with yours to make you a better person than the person you were the day before? And so something that's helped me with that is what I call miracle mornings, where I don't have to be at work until 8. So I usually wake up at 5, which really just means I'm waking up just an hour earlier than I normally would wake up. And I wake up, I eat breakfast, and I spend 20 minutes personally developing or like working on my Beachbody business. So that could be as simple as going and looking at people's Instagrams and seeing what they're doing and leaving them a genuine comment for the day. Like, genuinely, I'm so proud that you worked out today. Great job. Or I'm reading my books, as I am also, like I said, a huge reader. And then right after that, like making sure I'm working out by 5:30. And then after that, you can work out. And then the thing you wanted to get done that day, which was working on yourself and working out, it's done. And you got a whole day ahead of you. And you're in a great mood, which I need because I'm working with children all day long. Right. So I need to be in peak mood 24/7.
That's freaking awesome.
But yeah, so we call it Miracle Morning. And the good thing in like my group, like my workout group that I'm in, we have a Zoom link that's open from like 5 a.m. to like 9 a.m. And you can hop on at any time in that period. And there's somebody working out. It's on site, like it's muted, so you don't hear each other. But you just know, like, I'm not alone in doing this, and we are all busting our ass to be the better versions of ourselves.
Wow.
And so that has really helped me, knowing that we have the same 24 hours and get off your ass and work.
Mm-hmm.
That's super freaking dope.
Yeah.
So is this group part of like your Beachbody program that you're in? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
it is. Which, I mean, I kind of like randomly started Beachbody when Corona started because my gym shut down. And I've always, like, when I left college, I came out of college at my heaviest weight, as we all do. And I was like, what in the hell just happened? So I got home, you know, I started working really hard. Then I hit a plateau, and then Corona happened. And I was like, I have got to make my ass get into work. So there was this 10 rounds boxing program coming out with Beachbody, and this girl I follow on Instagram, just another social media influencer, she was doing it, and so I like had talked to her a little bit about it, got involved in it, kicked ass like within my first 6-week program. I didn't lose a lot of weight, but I felt so much better, which I just think that's so much more important, is just like just feeling better. Like, and if I lose weight on the way, it's just another perk.
Cherry on top.
And then so I just got into that and really never stopped. Then I started like Beachbody coaching, but I wouldn't say it's like a lifestyle of mine. Like some people really make their side hustle. They want to make it their goal. My goal is to stay in the classroom, and that's never going to change. But so I do it on the side. I do it for fun, and it keeps me motivated. And that group of girls is within them.
Right. And
That's one thing I've noticed too. Like for working out, no matter how much you don't want to do it, after you do it, you feel so much better, dude.
there's never a workout you're gonna regret.
Absolutely.
The only one workout you will regret is the one you didn't have.
I actually have a funny, well, not a funny story, but like, there's this guy that's been on Joe Rogan a lot. He's a ex-Marine, David Goggins. A lot of people
Love
might
that
know
guy.
him.
I read his book, changed my life.
He's so motivational in all kinds of ways. And I remember one time I was going through Instagram, right, and I see one of his posts, and he's in a college gym working out with the guys, right? And they're like blasting this rock and roll music, right, to get pumped or whatever. And he's just there working out. He's like, you see everybody in here? You see everybody in here? He's like, these guys get pumped up to work with the music. I always run with no music, because what happens when the music stops? What are they gonna do when the music stops?
Right.
Because when you go out there to the field, there is no music. This gym should be silent, but that's what they do here. So I'm gonna keep working out. So I was like, dang,
stay hard.
That's true. Stay hard. He always says that at the end.
Stay hard.
And then I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But then on Monday I was gonna go run, right, and I always put on my beats to listen to music. No, they're my mom's beats, because she has one of those cool like the ones over your ear, right? So I always go get them and I go run with them. Right. And I went to the drawer where she keeps them, and they were not there. I was like, oh, what happens when the music stops?
You listen to that.
And I went to go run without any music. I ran the fastest I've ran, because I could control my breathing. I ran the fastest.
Man, that guy David Goggins is a beast, man. And I want to share the story about and I know you're an avid reader, so I would recommend the book. It's called Can't Break Me, I believe, right?
You Can't Break Me.
Can't Break
Unbreakable?
Me. No, it's Can't Break Me.
You Can't Break Me.
Yeah.
By David Goggins.
David Goggins. And one of my mentors, Tim Evans, he was my second employer. He was I worked for a small company, and he was the president and the founder, and we clicked. And when I told him I had to leave, because when I found out I had to get a better job because Rosie was on the way, he was like, "Give me your address. I want to send you books from time to time." So wow. he sent me 3 books, and so he sent me the David Goggins book. Hey Noe, this book inspired me. I thought about you. I wanted to give it to you. Came in the mail. It was like for Christmas, I think. So I read it, and I first started reading it, and it got me super motivated. And then I picked it back up. So also his brother, who was the director of travel, my boy Chris Evans, Chris Daner, he read it as well. And one time when we just went and caught up, went and got some lunch. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and we both read it, and we were like, man, it's super awesome getting after it, and say, let's do a Spartan race, right? Oh yeah, I remember 12 mile? Well, we did 13. I did.
That's the one that you did after.
Yes. Yeah. So me and Yair actually, when first time we all actually hung out was when we did like a super fun, just like a 5K, but it was like super fun. Honestly, it was. And then like a month and a half later, I had the Spartan. But the point is that book really motivated me to push myself and take me to a certain place, right? Because what he talks about his life, the way he just pushed through whatever it was, that strong mentality. And even like when I was doing the race, now if you ever do a race like that, make sure you wear like trail shoes, because I made that mistake. I wore some Nikes, like an idiot. And any people were telling me I was an idiot when I was doing the race. They were like, "Bro, why are you wearing these Nikes? You wear trail shoes." And so I'm like 4 miles in, and it's like up in the hills, and I like twist my ankle so bad. And even some guy was like, "Bro, are you okay?" And he caught up to me. He's like, "You good?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey man, way to keep pushing, man." But it was honestly so inspiring. And I will do another one again if you ever want to do one. I think we should honestly do one. It would be super cool to do and record it. Yeah. But there were so many awesome people you would see. Like, it was just motivating and feeling of life of all ages, getting it. These guys, you call them ultras, they were doing the 26-mile race. You know, 26 mile. They would start like at 7 a.m. and they had to do the whole thing twice. And it was like it has been the most physically daunting thing I've done. But whenever like my ankle twisted, and I was like, fuck, but I kept, kind of trying to like trotting. And I thought about that book too. You know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, like he pushed through. It's in your head. You're not gonna be a fucking bitch. You're gonna you're gonna get through this. You have to be mentally strong. And it just pushed me, and I eventually did it, freaking almost crawling.
What goes through your mind, let's say, after that? Do you think about
I was really proud of myself.
all the training that you did for that?
Yeah.
Or getting to the finish line? Or
yeah, and even like leading up to the training, I woke up at 6 a.m. in the morning every single Saturday, and I would run also during the week. But every single Saturday I would wake up and I would run. And I mean, I'm a big guy. I've always been a big guy, but I got to the point where I could run like, an hour straight, just training for that race. And it's just, I did it, and I was like, wow, I really did this. I wasn't super pain for like a couple of days. But it's just such an awesome, like the power of that book had, you know what I'm saying, to get me going,
come with power.
Motivated and power. So if anybody checks it out, it's called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Super awesome, super motivational. And I know you are also like into like different types of books, right? Is there any awesome books you've ever read?
There are 2 books that I would recommend anyone. The first one is The Defining Decade. It's about living your life through your 20s. And I'm not kidding when I say that book really did change my perspective on so many things, because your 20s are just hard.
They are hard.
You're leaving college essentially. If you're on like a traditional path, I guess, like your early 20s, like you're like partying nonstop, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to join the like work field. I graduated college or whatever. I got a trade certificate, whatever your path is. And then you get to that field. And what I see a lot is that people lose that that fulfillment after like a year of working in their career, because you have to think, you go through school for 12 years. And you hit so many milestones. I mean, you're graduating elementary school, you're going to junior high, you're getting your license, you're going to prom, you're going to senior year. Oh my God, I got accepted to college. I got a scholarship. I got to college and I joined this sorority, or I joined this organization. I am now taking my next step and I'm job hunting. Oh my God, I got a job. Oh my God, I bought my first car. And then you get to like that plateau.
And you buy a house.
Yeah, and then I buy a house.
Shout out.
And then you get to like a plateau, like somewhere in like, I would say like the 22-ish to like 24 range, where you're like, well, fuck, no one's recognizing me. Like, I should be doing more. And you get to like this really, I feel like I've seen a lot of people get to this dark stage of like, why are people not giving me that gratification that I've got my whole life? For 22 years, I've got this gratification. Wow. And so I would say like right at 22 is when you need to buy like The Defining Decade. I just read it last year. So I read it at 24, but it was good for me in setting goals, because it talks about like making just an ideal timeline of now until you're 30 years old. What do you really want that to look like? Because that comes fast. And then when you get like, when you reach these milestones, like what age do you want it to be? Who do you want to be with, celebrating? And it puts into perspective that, oh, okay, I'm 25 years old. I only have 5 years to make this happen. And so it's like, okay, get your ass in gear.
Yeah.
honestly, that is eventually what led to
I
me
was like,
buying
man,
my
I'm about to
first
be
house.
26 in March. What?
Yeah, I turned 26 in December. My
Oh.
own
I feel
insurance.
like that's part of it's problem of today's generation, as
Mm-hmm.
in generation millennials and Gen Z,
Mhm.
or because that's what the older generations talk so bad about us, because we grew up getting rewarded for every single thing that we did.
Yeah.
Oh, you got last place in your
Yeah.
tournament, you still get a trophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's part of the problem?
I guess we care about status, maybe.
Yeah.
And I feel like in your 20s, what I see a lot of people, my perspective, is that people really care about having a certain status and being cared about what other people think, like who they went to school with or like whatever. But I think you made it such a good point, right? Because you kind of go through that transgression, you graduate or whatever, and you start doing things, and then you're kind of like, "Where's my gratification?" But then it's like, "Hey,
Hey,
man,
you just gotta
And
go
it's
to
like
this
work.
is
you
life.
realize,
You
like,
know, you're grown.
you don't get a
this is what is
paper at that
expected."
point. You get like some likes on Instagram.
Right.
Like that's what you get. Like congrats, you did it.
Right.
Some
136 people approved of you. And
Right.
so that's just like a weird like mindset change. But the defining decade, it's a book about your 20s. I have recommended it. I think there's a whole highlight on my at Champagne Hanny Instagram.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, because I got fifth grade and fabulous too. But there's like a whole highlight about that book that I think that was a pivotal book. But also, you guys were talking about the first book. I think you guys liked the motivation aspect. You guys should try to read Think Like a Monk.
I haven't. I've seen it. I'm very interested.
So I just started it, and it's about a guy who pretty much has this life transformation of I'm partying, I'm doing the thing, like whatever, and then he somehow decides to go on this journey to become a monk, which was the total opposite of his views. He has since got out of that, but he said it's taught him so many things about little things in life that we just forget to appreciate, and that because every day there's something going on. And so like something like just taking some breaths in the morning, or if it's negative and it's not benefiting you, then letting it go for real. And not saying, oh, whatever, I'm over it. You ain't over it. Like, so that book is another book that I think is really great to read. I'm in the process of it now, but I'm shouting it out because it's already that good.
Really,
I can
that's
totally
freaking
relate.
awesome.
I read a book as well that actually my friend here let me borrow. It's called The 7 Spiritual Laws. And that book is it's not a long book, so if anybody wants to check it out, I think it must be like 150 pages long. But it kind of talks a lot of those beliefs as well, like of starting your day maybe with just like concentrating on your breathing, relaxing, because by doing that you kind of like slow down your brain, because your brain's always like on go, right? And once you like slow down your brain, you can actually start feeling maybe something that you really want to do, accomplish
some
that
more quality
day,
thoughts,
or
maybe.
become more clear in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through like 7 laws of like even that, like being in a mode where maybe you've been wanting to do something for so long, right? And you're not happy where you're at right now. And by realizing what you want to be doing, like if you just focus on the thing that you think you were made to do, right? That you enjoy doing, like money eventually follows afterwards,
Right.
right? If you stay in that like in that place where you want to be, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But I mean, yeah, 7 Spiritual Laws, short book,
Super
a
dope.
quick read. You can definitely knock it out like in a day if you like commit to it.
Yeah.
Or like one of the big things for me that I've been doing is just reading in my truck for whenever I go to lunch. 30 minutes a day, you get through a 300-page book
Awesome.
in a week.
Right.
So
And for me, I would love to share the one book before that, Can't Hurt Me book, that truly changed my life, and I'm so glad I read it so young too. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you heard about it?
I've heard about it. I have not read it.
Have you read it or heard about
which one is it?
Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No, I need to.
Have you?
No, but you have talked about it before.
It is a book that like everybody should read. Like there's I'm gonna give it to Rosie and my daughters when they're like 15, 14, so they can kind of understand. But it's a story about this guy who has 2 dads. His dad who is the poor dad, who is actual biological dad, and his dad who's a rich dad, who was his friend's dad. And so his poor dad, who was an accountant, always taught him to go to school, and he wanted to make sure you have a safe job, you got a mortgage, and you know, you work for your money, you trade time for money. But he talks about in the book how the rich trade like, money for money. You make money with your money, and if your money's not doing something for you, then your money's falling behind. It taught me about, even before my accounting classes, about like assets and liabilities, right? How some people like will finance a big car and it'll be like $80,000 in the hole, right? At the end of the day, that's what it is. So look for ways, instead of doing that car, say, where can I put my money in some assets, a rental property or something, where eventually that can pay for its car on my own, and I don't have to change my life about it, so I can hold assets. I mean, that's just like a super, not even a 10,000, a super high level view, but that book I read it. It talks about how many people are in the rat race. It's the way it defines it. You're constantly spinning, trying to get the next thing, trying to make your ends meet. And it doesn't mean you have to be like this crazy person who is making this crazy amounts of money. It could be an honest person, an honest man, but also being disciplined with your money and like, what are your goals to get, certain places. But he also talks about like the way he really did it. His name is Robert. Yeah, I can't pronounce his name, but I don't want to mispronounce it. The way he got real big is through real estate, and then also it talks about real estate techniques and what to do, and it's really why it's one of my big goals, and why I say, like you say, where do I want to be when 30? Since I was like 19, I was like, okay, this is where I want to be when I'm like 24, and like it's crazy that I'm actually there where I wanted to be.
Right.
And then it's like where I want to be with 30, and so like right now, I try to be disciplined with myself and my finances. So I'm like, okay, I want to make sure I get here, because in the book it talks about, okay, you can get a house, you can rent it out. You have good credit, make sure you build your credit. That's why I'm like particular about that. If I get a house, build it, turn it into a duplex. Now instead of having one rental property, you have two. $1,600 a month. Your mortgage that you're paying is $1,400 a month. You're making $1,400 in margin. Save that up, buy a different house. Eventually you can have 3-4 houses. Now you're like you have residual income of $10,000 a month, and you're still working. And you know what I'm saying? It's just quick examples, but it keeps on going, and it just motivated so much. And I'm like, this is what I want to do, because I want to be free. Even right now, I still have pretty much really one main source of income. I want to get to the point where I'm free.
Multiple sources. Right. That reminds me of that quote, what you appreciate appreciates. So that can be in terms of like actual financial investments, or just like your time with your family, the people you love. If you appreciate, it's going to appreciate in your life. Just kind of takes on two different meanings, but that's what that reminds me of.
And you learned that from a book. What was the book called?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm really just talking about a really high level view. Yeah. I even one time, I kind of got like I want to say scammed, because it was technically free, but they got me. Facebook things. The author's gonna be in Houston. Signed up for the free workshop.
You were the only one outside?
Huh? No, it was some other guys that were there. They were trying to like sell you something, a program. But overall, the book was amazing. Anybody who's listening to this, and I'm sure so many people who are going to be listening to this are going to be like, oh yeah, I've read that book. Because I know a lot of people who actually read that book, and it's like a fundamental book.
A lot of people who are listening to this, they're going to be like, when are y'all starting the book club? Book club. So to maybe switch something around, like the conversation. I know you were talking about earlier about how you are very outspoken, right? And how you're riding the blue wave. What kind of do you receive, if you do, like what kind of like criticism do you receive from others that are maybe like, do people attack you online, or do they say like, what are you talking about?
I don't think people really attack me online. I don't engage in it. If they're gonna, my deal is this: I grew up in a conservative town. I'm riding the blue wave. I'm cool with that, whatever. I'm not going to start a conversation with anyone unless they come to me about it. And that's just one of my things. But I have definitely faced criticism. Actually, it's funny you say that. Last night, we went out for my mom's birthday dinner, and somehow the whole family got into an argument. Like a blowout. We left the restaurant. I cried, and I don't ever cry.
That's exactly what I was like. Yeah. I was thinking, because so for like a Mexican that's like for Trump or whatever, it's kind of easy to be like, why are you for Trump? Like, don't you know, like he wants to build a wall and all this, right? Like all the obviously the supposedly racism that he is or whatever. And I was always wondering, like, since you are like a white female, like what kind of like what happened? So continue.
It's just like it's just so tough. I think like going back to like what I preached in the beginning, it's all about how you treat people. And again, like I don't give a shit what your view is. I care about how you treat people. I think your view tells me a little bit about what you really feel, but you know people are two-faced, and I mean that, and like I really mean that in the kindest way. Like people are going to show you the face they want to show you. So like the argument last night, which was so stupid. I'm still upset about it, but I'm moving forward. Because like I said, I will not give my opinion unless somebody's going to ask it, because I know we probably don't feel the same, and that's cool. I'm just going to move forward. But one of my family members was like, tell me, what have the Democrats done for you? And I was like, well, I mean, I'm still on my parents' insurance, so that's check. Free birth control, great. But the Democrats don't have to do something for me, because I know that I maybe am not the person that the Democrats are doing this for. But it's not about me. It's about us as America. And when I'm voting, I'm not thinking about just me. I'm thinking about what's going to have a better longevity, like a better outcome for the longevity of our country, I guess. Well, I said that, and this family member like popped off, and it really upset me, because I was just surprised that they would kind of come at me like that, because they asked my point of view. And my point of view is I'm here to help others. Yeah. And I didn't understand how I was being disrespected because I want to help others. I'll never get that.
And I feel like that's what people think are right now. It's so ugly, either side. Yeah. That they feel like they have the right to not disrespect you because of that. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. And at the same time, thank you so much for just being you in regards to that, especially for us who are just like DACA recipients. I mean, that does mean a lot, honestly, to me, that you have that perspective, and that you, like, even at that moment when it's like your family and there may be the way they grew up, you're still be like, okay, well, you asked me, this is how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I just, and I, at the end of the day, believe it. I'll take it on the chin, and I'm going to move forward, because that's what people who love each other do. And like, that's what we have to do for our friends and family in this fragile state. Because like I said before, you don't know what has happened through that person's day. You don't know why they're popping off on you. I mean, it's not acceptable, and I will never condone it. And I will not be in that situation again, because you crossed me once, you done. Like
that's it.
And
check.
Yeah, but I don't know. So I do face criticism a lot, and I just put on a smile and say, "That's your opinion. I'm sorry you feel that way."
I feel like that's one of the things that sucks about like having just two parties that like. Yeah. And especially how you are saying that you're riding the blue wave, right? But also you like to have like concealed carry, right, and all that stuff. Like, how do you feel about like the middle? How people like say like, well, it's because like I'm kind of liberal, but also conservative at the same time.
Yeah, the classic socially liberal, financially conservative. Yes, I date that guy. I date that guy. Yeah. And I if you would have asked me a year ago, I've been like, that's a cop out. But then I told my boyfriend that, who feels that way, and he was like, we're gonna have to have a conversation now, because you said I'm having a cop out. And I mean, I think I don't know, it's hard. I think that's like a really good point of view for a progressive small business owner. Because you have to care about your business. It's your livelihood. Yeah. And that's where like this financial conservative views kind of come in. I feel like, I could be wrong, I'm not the know-all be-all, like I said. But it's these progressive people, but they also want to protect their business. And I just, to each their own, like if you want to feel that way, that's cool. I just think continue to have conversations with people who are different than you. And, like I respect that. Like my boyfriend is, I don't know if he's on the Trump train, but he's in line thinking about getting on. And it's hard.
He's still seeing what ticket he's going to scan.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not so sure. But that's like a prime example. And I was talking about that today after like the incident from last night. I was talking about like, I deeply love this man, and I know that he has full good intentions, because he's a financial advisor. So he has to care about what's going to happen with people's money. My point of view is, we won't have money if we don't have people. And right now we're not going to have people. And so we just have two different priorities, and that's okay. And what I've just been telling people as they're like coming on to this like very controversial time and you're having to make a decision, pick your top 3 issues, pick who goes with that side. You might not like it, but you have to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can vote, vote. And so that's just kind of where I'm at. Dylan is on the fence.
Shout out. We can't vote, guys.
Yeah.
Hannah can only
I'll
vote
vote
here.
for us.
Yeah. But
So
if you
so
can
Hannah
vote,
left. Hannah left crying, and her boyfriend was like, "I'll talk to her."
Yeah, straight up. He's like, it's okay. I mean,
This whole election, man, is just so toxic.
it is. It's scary.
I mean, social media is a huge part of it. Even last night, I was like, man, this is so toxic. Just going through it. And that's why I appreciate y'all's social media, y'all's Instagram, because y'all show the real life part of it. Y'all just don't show the political or the fitness models.
Yeah.
You actually post stuff that y'all go through every day.
Right. Just keep it more personal, not so much agenda.
And I've been thinking about deleting it for...
Me too, man. It's unhealthy.
It's toxic. You go in there, you see your family members or your friends posting this and that. And man,
It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. And I think that's like... I was trying to decide the other day, is it good that we're going through this because we truly see how people feel, but we get hurt in that process. So that's very challenging, obviously, because nobody wants to get hurt.
Of course.
But I think you just have to pick your battles, and you just truly have to. Like on nights that there's an election, you're not going to find me on Facebook. I'm not going to get on because I'm not going to entertain Billy Bob Joe, who's got the rebel flag in his yard, saying that he's chewing along. And that's fine, but I'm not going to come and tell him that he's wrong. I'm not going to get on social media and be upset because he shared it. That's why would I get upset because somebody shared something on their social media?
And part of the problem is the most ignorant people get the most attention on social media.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all noticed. You go on a link in the top comment, it's always
it's because
worst.
in a way like
shit.
that people will be like, I don't give a damn, I'm gonna post it, and some people aren't brave enough to do it, so they're like, oh fuck yeah, bros, stars or whatever.
And then people start arguing on their comment, so that's why they become the top comment. And you go in there and that's the first comment you read.
Yeah, I think the social media is very challenging right now, and I love social media, but you have to know mentally when you need to take a break, and you have to know also when you need to have real conversations with real life people, not the shares on Facebook. And that can be a lot because people like to engage in that, but I think if you want to live a happier, healthier life, don't engage with things that are going to bring you any sort of anxiety because you don't have to. You just don't have to. You can look the other way. Like, yeah, when people comment on my shit and they do, I'm like, I'm glad you feel that way. I'm going to exercise my First Amendment. Keep it moving. Like, bye.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
Not worrying about that.
Oh, man. But yeah, like, I mean, back to the reading, how I was saying that I have been reading for like 1 hour or whatever. That's one thing that's so crazy. Like my head is like moving so fast, right? Because I've been on social media like the whole day. And whenever I stop to read, I'm like, I open the book up and I'm like, okay, hold on, let me just check Facebook one more time, right? I don't do it.
I throw my phone across the room sometimes.
I don't do it, but in your head, your mind's moving so fast. You're like, wow, let me check Instagram or like anything. Let me just go back to the phone real quick. But as soon as I start reading like the first paragraph, it just goes away. Yeah, and it's so crazy.
Have you watched on Netflix yet The Social Dilemma?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we should take a break and then come back and talk about it. Yeah, sounds good.
You want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Okay, cool.
Right,
we'll take a break.
We'll be right back, guys.
Bye. Welcome back, part 2. Great start to the episode. Great conversations, and I know we were leaving off something about social dilemma.
Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple of times right before.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of times. Was it you that brought it up? The social dilemma? Martin.
No, what were we talking about? Sorry, I forgot. I was like, yeah, let's go.
I think I was talking about how we always like you were talking about reading and how when you read, you want to pick up your phone.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And that reminded me of the social dilemma and how like they program these things so that you want to click and scroll through. And my most interesting fact with like the social dilemma, like something I learned from it, was that instant gratification that we are programmed with at this point, being the age that we are, that every time we scroll like and swipe up, something new is going to be there. And I was like, that's so true, because that is exactly why I have like I get on TikTok is because I know I'm not going to see the same thing twice. Now, I know I am wasting my damn time while I'm there, but it's something that sucks you in because it's like, well, it's new content. That does worry me because I'm somebody who I feel like I'm on social media a lot as like a micro influencer, I guess you could say. But I'm not somebody who I feel like is addicted to social media. I actually have less social media than like most people I know. I only have Facebook and Instagram. I don't do Snapchat. I don't do Twitter.
Me either.
Or anything
I think
like
those were the
that,
most toxic
yeah.
ones. I think we brought it up before.
Snapchat?
Snapchat and Twitter.
Why would you say Snapchat?
Snapchat, I just feel like can be troubling. Like
Yeah,
you can like really
troubling.
get yourself into trouble, like either like with your career or
relationship.
people doing sneaky stuff in their relationships.
Yeah, it's just
like,
the reality of it, and it's not like you're like, oh, I'm gonna, but it's just
for fun that leads to
yeah.
something
I feel
that
like
you're
I
like,
just outgrew it. I was just like,
Yeah.
I just don't need it. But
Yeah.
what were you saying about?
well, it just worries me because like I am somebody who is like really, I feel like removed from some parts of social media, though I do love social media. And I like after watching that realized that I fall into those things of like, well, if I swipe up again, I'm gonna get something brand new. And so it was just a wake up call, and I had told my boyfriend, I was like, yeah, I don't think I have that problem. And he was like, this is for people like you who don't think that they have the problem and continue to scroll. I was like, you're right.
It's so true because like whenever I lay down at night or just sit down in my bed to read a book, I bring up the book, right? And I, for some reason, my mind is just turning inside my head saying, just check Facebook one more time, see if anything's there, or go through Instagram, see if anybody liked anything. Like if that's going to do anything for me, right? But like I said before, like if I just start reading and it just starts like going away, right? Like that temptation.
And honestly, just the small thing of putting my phone outside my room, just I charge it in my living room and I'll leave it there. And I know my wife, we wake up at the same time, and she doesn't have that problem, but like I would.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
it
just
feels
helps a
so
lot
weird
because like I'm already checked out. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna grab my phone. I'm not gonna get up and get it.
It feels so weird, like being conscious that you could be on your phone, but you're not on it for more than like 30 minutes. Because, I mean, if you think about it, we're always on our phone, no matter even if it's like a quick check, just like every 10 minutes, So not being on it and knowing that it's right there next to you for like 30 minutes, it's really weird, like in your head for some reason. Like we've been so accustomed to it.
I think that they mentioned, you know how on Facebook you refresh and then you get something new. They got that from the casino slot machines.
Yeah.
So it can become addicting.
It's
You never know where
crazy.
you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just found that's crazy.
Yeah, I like that you put your phone outside your room. So I want to, like, I always try to put my phone away from my bed. Like, I don't want to have my phone in reach. And, like, when we get in bed at night, like, we put our phones down and then it's done. Like, and so I tried for a while, like, reading before bed. But then I just found myself so much wanting to get on my phone. So I think I'll try, like, putting my phone outside my room. I've always hesitated, though, because like if Dylan's not there, I'm by myself at my house.
Well, yeah, that's actually
sketch central.
Yeah, that's actually like.
So I want to have something to grab
yeah,
if something like, and it's weird like that I have to worry about that. Like I also sleep with my gun next to my bed in one, and then my car keys on the other, because like that's like a tip as a girl. Like if somebody breaks into your house, hit your alarm button on your car because it's gonna call attention to your house. So I'm like protected on both sides. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. It's true.
That's so freaking awesome that you have that thought process. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, well, it's like something girls are like programmed to like think about these steps of like safety.
I'll tell you, I don't think all girls are programmed that way. Would you say so? This is the first time I would want my daughters to think that way. But like I mean, I feel like you're strategic, right? Like you're like, yeah, my phones are here.
They're gonna fuck with
this
me.
is here. I'm gonna sound
go
the
down.
alarm. That's pretty like. Did you watch that somewhere? Or
No, I guess I just had heard it from somebody, like just like another girl who was like, yeah, that's good because it'll call attention to your house if something happens. So, but usually like my phone's by my bed because I'm like thinking like, oh, well, I'll call if something happens. But like, really, what time do you have? Like if something actually happens. So maybe I'll get brave enough to put my phone outside my bedroom.
No, but I mean, that's a legit reason.
Yeah.
Because that's actually, of course, there's probably a very slim chance, and hopefully that chance never happens.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean,
I don't know. I've had some sketchy stuff happen to me. Like I am like a target for people trying to. That's why I end up getting my CHL. Is because I kept for like 2 months in a row. Every time I went to Target, I got followed by somebody. It was the craziest thing. And that was like what drove me. Of course, if it came down to it, like, I never want to be in that situation where I'd have to use my gun. And I don't think I could do that to somebody, but I could fucking scare them. Like, that's all I know.
Right.
But I would, like, go to Target and be, like, totally normal, like, looking like a hobo, going to spend some money on candles. And this one instance was, like, the worst. And I know this is off topic, but
No, go ahead.
Was like the worst time. Me and my sister went together, and I have to say, like, very vigilant. That's just how I am. And I think that comes with, like, being a teacher. I have to watch and I listen to everything. So, like, when I go to dinner with Dylan, he'll know if I'm listening to somebody else around, because I just have, like, these eyes where I'm, like, paying attention to you, but I'm listening to what they're talking about over there. And so me and Kelsey, my sister, were in the dollar section, and I realized there was this guy who didn't have a basket, but I was like, whatever, it's right when you walk in Target. That's the point. That's marketing. Well, we ended up going to, like, all these different aisles, and I noticed this guy was on every aisle. So I told Kelsey, because I had just noticed him, because at one point we were picking out, like, a little girl child's birthday present in, like, the children's aisle, and he was there, but he didn't have kids. And I was like, that's really odd. My red flags are going off. So I told my sister, I was like, that guy's following us. We need to ask somebody to walk us out. She was like, okay. So we got to the register and didn't really see the guy anywhere. Didn't see him at all. And I was like, okay. And she was like, do you think we should walk? I said, well, I don't know. Like, my gut was, like, saying yes, but I was like, we're parked up front and we're together. When we walked out, the guy was standing there waiting and was coming at us, and we went sicko mode, bro. Like, we went
Oh my
crazy.
God.
I started, like, yelling. I grabbed a basket and pushed it at him.
Oh my God.
I'm, like, grabbing Kelsey's arm. She's taking off, and I'm like, go to the front, go back to the front. And after that moment, and then he took off. I ended up calling the cops.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, this guy has followed us through Target for 30 minutes, didn't buy anything, and is standing outside. He didn't have good intentions. I don't know what the intentions were, but they weren't good. And so we ended up calling the cops, and that was, like, one of my final straws, I guess.
I think I remember you posting on social media.
Yes, because I have also been followed because I run a lot. Like, we like to jog and do 5Ks. And when I run, I've had some bad experiences happen to me too. And so that was, like, one of my things where that was, like, my final straw, I guess you could say. And so, like, when these instances have continued to happen to you for no reason, you have to learn how to protect yourself. And so I just, like, started picking up on these tips.
Awesome.
That's
wow.
My wife actually told me the same story at Target.
Target is a hot spot.
Yes, I was going to tell you that. Have you been at Target at during the week around 9 p.m.? It's only women shopping around. I always go with my wife. I see, I want to say about 75 to 80% is just women.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you say it's the spot for, what should we even call creeps?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are past creeps, man. I think creeps is, like, an understatement. Some people are just evil. I mean, you never know. Like, that guy could have been a creep, or that guy could have been a legit part of, like, this crime organization of, like, human trafficking. That could be a legit thing. I mean, do you guys know that Houston is a hot spot for human trafficking?
It's like number one in the world, right?
Because of the
Port of Houston?
Yeah, because of the Port of Houston. Yeah.
It's nuts. Wow. And I-10, because it runs so far, all the way to El Paso.
It's not that they're actually taking people from, which they are, but not in a huge scale.
But, like, they hold them in different houses and things like that.
It's mostly coming from South America or other countries.
Wow.
Gee, that's so crazy.
That's crazy. But Hannah, that's so awesome that you have that awareness. I believe every woman should have that. Even I tell my wife that. I would be like, anytime she goes with the girls, I always say, be aware of your surroundings. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, if you feel something off, you're with the girls. And, of course, since now we have 2 kids, like, she usually just, like, with Rosie or something. Because with 2 kids, it's just, like, you're a freaking target. Like, you know, you can protect both. But
yeah, that's what I would think, having a daughter, or, like, you know, having kids, like, you want to be, like, their number one protector. So that would be, like, a spark for me. But, like, living alone is another spark. That's because I just bought a house in June.
Shout out.
Thank you. But I lived in, like, the sketchiest, meth-ridden area of Santa Fe, Texas possible. Shout out to Fur Road. Sketchy as shit. But I ended up, like, that was, like, a drive to move out of that house. And it was a family house I was staying in. Me and my sister lived there together. And she's still sticking it out over there.
Oh, my God.
But I just couldn't take, like, the amount of safety that I felt like I didn't have. And I wanted to run on sidewalks and know that if something happened, somebody's Ring doorbell was going to catch it. And it's just crazy, like the things that you have to like go through to make sure that you're protected. It's like, you know, people should just be good people, but that's just not how it's going to be.
That's just unfortunately not what the world is.
Yeah.
And I talked about it like in a podcast a long time ago and that's why I think it's so cool that you already have that awareness, because it's so important to always be aware of your surroundings and see like when you can sense danger. And if I can recommend you and any you know, women, young or whatever, listening, is to practice jiu-jitsu. That it is, I have a bias because I've trained it, but really like it's so crazy how I got sold on it. The very first class is always like a free class. I went, and if you want, I can show you what I learned or not, because it's kind of weird. Jiu-jitsu is weird, but if you do it like without like your gi and stuff, or you're not really rolling. But it was like, you know, if somebody was like pin you down and full like weight on like your neck, and they shot, that was the technique of the day they were showing. And it happened to be the day that I went for like my free trial class. And I went, and the beauty about jiu-jitsu, everyone's so freaking nice, because you can be nice because you're about to kill each other for the last 30 minutes of class, you know. It's the only time I've ever been able to use like my full strength and will to like go against somebody. So it's so freaking fun. But we did that. We were going through the drill, and so what the technique is I'm sure there's a name for it, but if someone has like their full like hands on your neck, what you do is first thing you do is like right here, the first thing you want to do is you want to do the hardest 1-inch shove, because you want to be able to breathe. Next thing you do is you want to hold your hands. You want to keep their hands there. Since that person will be in between your legs, what you want to do, hopefully if you're an athlete, it'll be a lot easier for you. You want to put your legs behind their neck and you're not letting them hands go. Once you put your legs behind their neck, and so for example, like my hands will be like this, you want to squeeze as hard as you can. What that will do, you're going to either you're going to like hyperextend their elbow, which will eventually break it. They're going to be so much pain they're going to let you go, or your arms are going to break. You know what I'm saying? And when I went through that, me having a daughter, just one at the time, Alexa was on the way. I said, this is what I need to do, because I'm going to learn something that I'm going to teach my daughters, and you never know when that can save someone's life. You know, and it's also like a super cool thing. Sure. But that's just like, that was the one that kind of like was like, yeah, this is what I need to do with myself. But either or, it's just like, that's what it's meant for. When jiu-jitsu was like brought up, it was like, you know, the ability to be able to be a much stronger and bigger person would like to, like, once you have the technique and stuff, like, you know, if like, for example, somebody like myself would want us to, like, somebody who I didn't know was a black belt, and I'd say, or just like somebody as big as me want to do some harm, that person will mess me up. Of course, it takes like years to get a black belt, but it's just an example of why I'm like, yeah, my daughters need to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that safety reason.
I have heard it humbles you down.
It humbles you a lot, 100%.
In everybody's mind, everybody thinks they can fight, but once you mess with somebody that's been trained to fight, that just goes out the window. You're like, oh,
it's
shit,
so
never
funny,
mind.
and I miss it so much because I haven't been able to do it since COVID. But I think I'm gonna go back in December, and it humbles you, man, because, of course, like, dude, I probably weigh twice your size, like, literally, right? And I've gotten like literally choked out by somebody like, you know, Yair, who I have 120 pounds on. And I'm just like, wow, like, this is like so beautiful. Like, I remember when I went back because of COVID, I hadn't gone for like 2 months. And then I went back when they reopened, because you know how like it like shut down strictly for like a month and a half. And I was like getting choked out, and I was smiling, and I was like, in my head, I was like, hell yeah, I'm back in this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I love doing this, man.
That's funny.
But yeah, man. Any girl, the most important part is if you have the ability and resources to do it. That was, I think, is amazing. I think is the one art that can really save someone's life. Martial art.
Absolutely.
For sure. But I'm sorry you had to go through his experiences. I know during the break you were talking about something that was so freaking amazing, about how if you take your weekends off, you are wasting 1/3 of your year.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, so like everybody does, they build these healthy habits, and usually like Monday through Wednesday, you're on your shit. You wake up, you do your workout, you do your reading, you drink your water. Then Thursday comes around, you might happen to make it to a happy hour or two. By the time the weekend comes, you're like done. So even if you work out and you're just totally your best version of yourself Monday through Friday, but then you take your weekends off, Saturday and Sunday, there's 365 days in the year and about 104 days that are weekends. That's not including like 3-day weekends or these like long breaks that you get. That's
or
one.
the Friday weekend.
Yeah, the Friday weekend, right? Like automatically, like I'm not working, but I'm here.
Right.
That's like automatically 1/3 of the year that you're not putting in the work that you've told yourself you're committing to 5 days of the week. So we have to consider it goes back. It all goes back to that we all get the same 24 hours in a day. You can still do the stuff on the weekends that you need to do, but if you don't, you're missing out on 1/3 of the year. And what could you do with that 1/3? That would be like you working out for 3 months, but in the middle of it, you take off. Okay, you saw results in the beginning. You got your pudge again, and then you're trying really hard to catch up, and you're not going to, and you're going to be dissatisfied with your results because you're not giving your 110%. 110% of the time.
Right.
So.
And is there any habits you've implemented to like help with that? Like be more active on Saturday and Sunday?
So we like back to like my Beachbody group, we do like a sip and sweat on Saturdays, which is like a Zoom link. It opens at 9. It's open till 11, like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think the most important thing is just like having some sort of group. Like if you do your own workout group or like a healthy habit, I don't want to say just workout, like a healthy habit group or surrounding yourself with people or like me and Dylan on Sundays, we're going to take a walk on Sundays. We might not get a hardcore workout in, but we're going to get that 30 minutes of activity. So we for sure work out Saturday mornings before we go do anything. And then we work out we take a walk on Sunday nights. Sometimes that walk might be with red wine in a wine glass, but you're still taking a walk.
Hey.
And because we go to breweries and like, that's our thing. We like to go to breweries and wineries and try different things. And so when we go to breweries or wineries to keep up with those healthy habits, we'll bring, even though, you know, you can bring your own like water bottle or however you want to do it. But between each drink, we drink a whole bottle of water, to try to make sure that we're still getting our water in, we're getting our hydration in. If you're really enjoying yourself, you're keeping track of yourself. But that at least, you know, we wake up, we work out, we go have fun, but we're drinking water in between. So those are like some tips I've like done, like Saturday morning, Sunday evening, water in between your drinking.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
That's awesome. It's a healthy balance, right? Because you want to have a good time. We're young, ability to go have a good time, but the healthy balance, and I feel like it's good for your
because you don't want to like give it up,
especially mental as well.
Yeah, and you can really, that is like the mental part of this. Like I was talking about the other day, I need to start doing no Mexican food November. Like that needs to be a thing for me because I am not kidding.
We can't do that. We Mexican.
Yeah, I'm ashamed to say I go to my favorite Mexican restaurant at least twice a week and have margaritas.
Well, now imagine having that all year round and trying to.
I know, right?
My grandma, man, she takes care of my kids, right? And today, you know, I'm trying to eat my chicken and rice, and today she has some fucking quesadillas ready for me, bro. I couldn't tell her no. I'm sorry, Felipe. I couldn't tell her no.
Are you always gonna apologize to Felipe for no reason now?
Hey, how do y'all feel about? Well, you said you waste about 1/3 of your year by taking off the weekends. Well, same thing goes for sleeping 8 hours a day at night. Do y'all usually like sleep 8 hours, or how long do y'all usually sleep? What's your sleeping period?
Well, with that, bro. Look,
I've heard
I feel
both sides of it.
look. Well, the thing is, and I'm not trying to. It's like, you know, when I have kids. Now that I have kids, it's different, bro. Because sometimes I just have to rest. Honestly, man. Yeah. I have to have the conversation with myself. It's like, bro, I know you're trying to be fucking hard. I know you're trying to get it, but you gotta fucking rest. Because there's been times where I was like, nah, man. No matter if you got kids, you gotta wake up at fucking 5:30. You gotta get it. And then I do that, and I'm just like drained, and I can't function at work. So I kind of try to find that balance. And then you can't give
that time to your kids after work.
Exactly,
either.
And then I can't spend that much time. But before, or kind of when Rosie was already like, you know, before we had Dyslexia, I 100% believe that, bro. All you really need is 6.
6.
You know, you wake up a little early. You know what I'm saying? And you can do so much more with your day. I mean, look what you're doing when like you're getting up early. You're reading your self-time, self-care. You're taking care of yourself first. And then honestly, every time when I do that, when I don't give myself an excuse to not take care of myself first, I have a much better day.
Okay.
I'm more productive. I'm more efficient. More importantly, right? And I feel healthier throughout the day as well. You know. So I think that's huge, especially when you're talking about the weekends and 130 your year. Coach Benite, I think it was his name. He said something that stuck for me for the rest of my life. He said the most important thing in life is time.
That's
you can never get it back. You can't never borrow it, steal it, or sell it to nobody. Once it's gone, it's gone. Like you said earlier, right? We all have the same 24 hours.
Right.
So, and that's where sometimes I commend myself. I'm like, wow, you spend time with the kids today. You did your job. You whatever. You know, of course, I try to just make the most of my time. And sometimes I'm like, where do I have to just pick my battles? And sometimes I feel like eventually, like, sleep is the one that I just don't need to sleep 7-8 hours a day.
What about y'all?
What about you, Hannah?
I get in bed for sure by 10 o'clock while I'm like weekdays, Monday through Friday. Well, Monday through Thursday, I'll say. And then I'm up at 5 o'clock at 5 or 5:30, somewhere in there. So I get a pretty fair amount of sleep. But if I don't get sleep and I have to go with like 100 crazy ass kids, it is a hot mess express. So I'm pretty particular about my sleep schedule during like the work week. But I'm a person, and I'm very blessed, and this annoys my boyfriend. When I get in bed, I'm going to sleep. I am not somebody who's ever struggled with sleep. So I can, like, my goal is to be in bed by 10. I make myself put my phone down by 10:30 if I'm on my phone. And then as soon as I close my eyes, I'm asleep.
That's freaking awesome.
I know.
Well, I mean, that's probably a testament also to how much work you're putting into the day, because I'm sure you're doing that. I mean, you're interacting with 100 individuals right, a day. That must be draining, right? But yeah, that is a blessing, and I hate when I can't get that good sleep. But for sure, what about you, Martin? What do you feel?
I know you wake up super early. What is it, like 4:30?
Yeah, like 4:35 ish. I'm with Hannah. I try to go to sleep at 10, get that rest. And for me, it's simply because of just working throughout the day. I hate whenever I'm working and I'm just like kind of like sometimes just like dozing off, and I'm like feel like I need to fall asleep or whatever. Yeah. So I mean, definitely, especially if I want to carry that through to coming home from work and going to go run and work out afterwards and edit the podcast and do whatever.
Yeah, we were busy.
Do anything else that I want to do, read or whatever. I feel like if I don't get those 7 hours, dude, I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not all there. I'm like zoning out and falling asleep.
Gotcha. No, we to each his own. And I thought about something funny, and I would like to ask y'all this question. Did you ever, like, I guess maybe for you, like post-grad, right, like after college, where you kind of had to check yourself, like, in the sense, because one time I went out with some friends on Sunday, because, in college, you go out and you got to be up at 8 for an exam, you're on 3 hours of sleep, or something, just an example
and
like that.
Somehow you make it happen.
Something you make it happen, right? And I had an experience where I went out on a Sunday, and then the next Monday I had an 8 a.m. meeting. I made the meeting, and I'm driving to work, and like I'm like, oh my god, I feel like crap. I'm 4 hours asleep. But before I had always done that, and I'm driving. I literally had to get off the freeway, pull over. Like I pull into a street. I barely even made it, and I just like open my car door, and I freaking just barf. And it's so funny because it's like 7:30 on a Monday morning, and there was cars passing me by. So I think it would have been pretty funny if I would have seen that. Like, dude, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Yeah. But that's kind of when I had like my reality check. Like, hey, bro, you're not that young college guy anymore.
Yeah, you're not 18 anymore.
Because I was like a year out of college, so I was like, you're not that young. You can't just hang no more, bro. You got to take it easy. So that's when I was like, I'm never want to be tired at work anymore. So I really started. I was like, in bed by 10. Stop going out.
Have you ever gone to bed super drunk and woke up a couple hours later feeling super good? And like you still have that adrenaline going on. You're good for the next couple hours, and then out of nowhere you just crash.
That was kind of what happened that morning. Yeah, it was crazy.
That happens to me a lot to this day.
Haven't learned that lesson yet.
No,
I'm still getting drunk
that.
before I go to sleep. Like, damn, dude, what are you doing?
I stopped doing that when we went out for a friend's birthday for like her birthday. Shout out Bianca. Her birthday's on Cinco de Mayo, and she's known for just being like really fun and crazy. So we went out, and it was when we had a Rosie. It was the first time me and Gabby at the same time ever have gotten drunk, like in the day, right? After we had a kid, because I met my wife in college, so like me and my wife have like turned up hard together. But that was a time where it was like, we're never doing this shit again. Because, like, our kid don't give a fuck how drunk we are, how fucking shitty we feel. That kid needs to be freaking chased. And we never did it again. It was so fucking funny.
Have you ever been day drunk before, Hannah?
Oh.
Cinco de Mayo. I can already see it.
Lots of
Cinco
drinking
de
happenings with my group of friends and people. Right. But I definitely learned as, like, being a teacher, it is not fun to experience that the next day at work.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been hungover at work before?
I have. My first year of teaching, when I was still learning how to balance that out, and it is like, you know, Bad Teacher, where you like the movie Bad Teacher with like Cameron Diaz, and she's like a hot mess express. It truly feels like that, where it's just like, please stop talking to me. I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't want to talk to you right now. Like,
is it a movie day whenever you're...
I wish. People always ask that. We can't play movies like that. I wish we could.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, no, we don't get to... That's like the old days, I guess.
Roll up that big ass TV.
Oh, yeah. You know, it was going to be a good day for
yeah.
sure.
There are, like, if I can justify watching something, then I can, then I can do it. So, like, recently the kids had, like, they worked really hard through the week, and we do these stations because teaching is not like you used to like be taught. Like, you used to have someone stand in front of the room and teach you. It's pretty backwards now. I pretty much only stand and teach for about 20 minutes, and then we move into what we call like small group time, where I pull kids and do like individual lessons with kids and like where they're lacking learning concepts, and the kids work into these stations. So they have like a computer station, a science station, a social studies station, and then a small group station. Well, they'd like worked really hard. They'd finished their stations, and I was like, man, we just got done teaching energy. I bet Magic School Bus has like an electrical circuit. So I like log into my Netflix because we don't have the my thing projects. And I was able to like justify us watching Magic School Bus. And I was like, I'm feeling good because I've got some justification. You guys can leave me alone while I put in grades, and you're learning something along the way. So...
Do you guys still play Bill Nye?
Bill Nye, the science guy.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, Brain Pop. The kids don't really like Brain Pop, but we still have it. Bill Nye, very popular. It's still Bill Nye. Your mom's a guy, Bill Nye. Yeah,
I completely forgot about Brain Pop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything is still around. It's just how often it's used. The big thing right now is Kahoot. Did y'all play Kahoot when y'all were?
Yeah, well, I've played Kahoot like at work.
Okay, so we've done like when quarantine like started and you were like doing like fun.
No, bro. Fucking asshole, bro. You guys know why I'm a bully to him.
When we did like fun quarantine events, one time me and like my group of friends who were like our quarantine crew, we made Kahoots about each other and played. But Kahoot is essentially like the coolest thing to kids. They get to make their own name on it, and then it's like a quiz. So like today we do like states Kahoots. It shows them a state. They have to pick out, it shows it on my screen and I project it, and then the kids have their own devices, which is very cool to have your own device. And then they pick out like the symbol that matches their answer, and then it shows like a podium, like a scoreboard. Yeah. So it's like a race.
No, Martin, we played it at work as like a training, like it was like who knows what. Play Kahoot, they ask the question, and everybody's awesome. Like boom, boom, boom. And then it's like, it's weird because Kahoot measures you by how fast you also respond.
And accurate,
if you respond faster, so it makes it all competitive, who's going to win. And they usually like give out money if you win.
So that is like the cool thing in 5th grade right now.
Nice.
Yeah. Get educated, Martin.
Okay, shit. Man, I know you were playing 5th grader games at your job.
Hey, you're still getting paid, bro.
That's
the beauty of it. But no, that's freaking awesome, Hannah. And also, I know you had when you had reached out to me some topics you wanted to talk maybe a little bit, or if you want about I think it's something so cool. You really bought a house on your own.
Yeah.
How was that process for you like? I know it was a big goal for you.
That was intense. So basically around this time last year, is when I finished the Defining Decade book. So this all like kind of goes back together. I finished the Defining Decade, and it was that time where it was like, make a timeline. I'm sure it's like somewhere in this journal, because this is a journal I use for like everything. And the timeline was, you know, I thought I was going to get engaged this year. I thought we were going to get married, and then maybe we'd buy a house together. Well, after, you know, when you have like a significant other that you do plan on spending your life with, you do have to have really real conversations. And just where Dylan was at in his career, we were not going to get engaged this year. So we had to have a real conversation of, I needed to take my next step. I needed to do something for me, because if something happens to him, God forbid, like we break up or something actually happens to him, I want to have been provided for, and I need to provide for myself on my own. So I started to look at this house buying process, and I started it kind of in like December-ish of last year. But what was challenging about that is me and Dylan live on opposite sides of Houston. So I live in Santa Fe, and he lives in Conroe.
No, that's not even opposite sides of Houston.
Yeah,
that's like
opposite outskirts of Houston, right?
What is that, like in a 45-minute?
No, that's like an hour.
It's like an hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah. It's a road trip.
So I like coming here tonight because it cut 30 minutes off my time.
There you go.
It's a long distance relationship
Yeah.
in Houston, bro.
And we've been doing it for 4 years.
Hey, shout out making it work.
Yeah. So we had decided we weren't gonna like take the next step in our relationship, but he's doing stuff for his career. He's in school again, which is great. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna buy a house. But then it was the debate of, well, where the fuck do I get a house? Because we haven't really made that commitment yet, but we know we want to be together. And I was like, look, I'll try to get as close to 45 as possible, because that's a straight shoot to both of our jobs, but I cannot promise where it's going to be. So I looked at houses all over the place, hired a realtor, got approved, went through like the home buying process, and it was a lot. But what I started to realize, and this was just the educator in me, and the fact that I do have like the privilege to have like really supportive like family members who like guided me through this process, that people could really easily get screwed over in this process. Between interest rates and your realtor like not really fighting for you on things that you need to be fought for, people telling you don't need a home inspection, that's nuts. And so I started almost using my Instagram as like an educational tool on how to buy a house, it's a highlight on my Instagram now. And I just kind of started going through this process and put my first offer in on a house in February. I thought it was the best house. It was perfect. They hadn't even put it on the market yet, and it was like $160,000, and it was 1,300 square foot, which was small, but it was just me. And I was like, man, I got this. And my stepdad happens to be a home inspector. That's his like second side gig. Well, he's got like 1,000 side gigs, but that's his second one. He's a hustler. And so he went and looked at the house. He was like, this house needs a new roof. So it's a no. So we I came up with Dylan came up with a list of what he would want in a house. I came up with a list of what I want in a house. And then we picked non-negotiables. The non-negotiables were, I don't need to pay for a new roof, and I don't want to pay for a new AC. And so the journey kind of started. And the first house kind of went through, which was good because, I mean, it was kind of just like a trial run. And then my sister moved in with me. And after a couple months of us living together, I was like, yeah, we're kickstarted this process. I love my sister. I don't want to ruin our relationship.
Yeah.
And so after that first one fell through, we just kept looking over time. And I was like, if it happens, it'll happen. And I actually went to look at another house in the neighborhood I originally put in an offer in. And I thought it was going to be beautiful. It was not. It was like a total bachelor pad. No offense. It just wasn't something I wanted. And I went and looked at another house in Lamarck, which is the house I ended up buying. I didn't want to look at it because it was out of my budget. And my concern was that I'm a single income as a teacher. So when I found this house, I automatically loved it. And then it was crunching numbers from there. But I had all the right tools. I had saved up a lot of money because I had lived in a family house. So I saved $20,000-ish living there. Then my stepdad is a home inspector, so he could do that for free. And Dylan's a financial advisor. So we were working as an entire team to crunch numbers and make sure, could I make this mortgage happen? And so I capped out and was like, I can't do more than $1,400 a month. Like, that's just it. Let's make it work. And we went through this process. I just would say about the home buying process, if you're going to buy a house, don't start until you're ready to commit to the house. Like, because like when you find one, you have to act. You can't just be like, oh, I kind of like
on
it.
Zillow.
Yeah. There's no Zillow. Get on Har, bitch. Like, Har is where that shit is for real.
That's where it's at if you're serious about it.
Yeah. And so we like, you just have to like get ready, and then you have to like have time to go to the bank every day. Like every day you have to go to the bank and like balance numbers or get sheets or get cashier's checks, and it's a hot mess express. The only good thing about this was I stopped going to school because COVID happened. So all of a sudden I had all this time. And when I had all that time, I was like, well, I guess I'll just spend more money than I ever needed to and I'll buy a house. Like, but everything ended up working out. I had a really good team, which is something you definitely have to have when you're going through this process. And yeah, so I bought the house, closed on June 3rd. I've had a couple of hiccups with it, but nothing huge. I've learned a lot about like just continuing to be independent. And providing for myself, but I will say it has been a wake-up call that it's hard to do things on your own. Like, it's really hard to make it happen. It's possible, but you have to be ready to make it possible.
Right.
You say you got your house in Lamarck?
Yes.
Is that by, like, the outlets?
Yeah, Texas City Outlet Mall is like, that's the exit
Christian
up
lives
from me.
there. One of our friends where we had the idea for this podcast.
Oh, really?
Lives in Lamarck.
Yeah, they moved all the way out there?
Shout out to Christian.
Huh? Yeah, shout out to Christian.
What's his
That's
last
crazy.
name?
But yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
How many houses did you end up looking at before you...
So I ended up going to probably like 10 houses that like just like visiting 10 houses like over time. I only ended up putting an offer in on 2. The first one fell through and then the second one was the one I ended up going with. And it did end up going over budget. I remember like if I could warn anyone in the house buying process, the day that it goes like cash to close, like you're ready to close on this house, they send you your closing numbers and they are extremely over budget by an ungodly number. They told me that I was going to put down $18,000 at closing. And I was like, you guys saw my bank account? Where do you think I'm getting that from? Like, and basically the system I had to learn was it goes through a series of like credit and debits. It truly does. It's just like a T-chart. You know, you have this credit, but then you owe your realtor this, or, you know, oh, your sellers are going to pay for your carpet to be replaced. Here's a credit. But they're going to charge you for having an AC guy come look at it. So it goes through that. Once both title companies finally balance it out, then you get to your final numbers. And it went down by like $5,000.
Yeah, it's weird. They always like tell you it's gonna be this crazy number. I don't know if you experienced it the same.
Yeah,
they were like, yeah, it's gonna be, you know, it's like 15 grand, and then it came out to be like $3 grand less than that.
Yeah, and I was like, what in the hell? Why would you scare me like that? Because I mean, I was in tears. I was like, oh my god, I really hyped this up. Like, I really told everyone.
I already posted on Instagram.
Yeah, I really
I have to
said
do it
my
now.
future home.
yeah, I'm about to buy this house, and then I was like, man, I can't. And but then
Yeah,
of course
but like you did it.
it worked out. I mean, I definitely have to work harder, hustle harder, save harder, and like really budget, which that has been like a process of learning. I will probably still continue to learn, but it's been all good, and I love being a homeowner, and I feel
a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, it's a lot of pride, especially like to know like I've done this on my own, and for my family, like I was the first Nelson to graduate college, so that feels really good. And then I'm the first person in my family to buy a house by themselves.
Wow.
And to do it at 25 years old. And on like the income that I do have, which I mean, not that teachers make the best money, but they don't make the worst money either. But it's just the thing about teachers is that you just don't grow in your income. You're kind of just sitting there. That's why people say teachers
like
don't
it
make
kind of
money.
goes here and then
And it's just like flat rated pretty much. So I'm really proud to like do that. But it's definitely been a process, and but I love my neighborhood. I love the house. Dylan is going to move in probably like next June, because the goal is that I'll have been living in the house by myself for a year.
And it will already be at decorate it how you want.
Yeah, and we pretty much this year we canceled all holidays and birthdays and anything we would buy gifts for, anniversaries, and we've just picked out projects to do. So on our anniversary, this month, I guess.
Oh wait, so like just for you guys, like?
Yeah, because we're making it like an investment for us.
Okay, because I was thinking like, what did your family like? What Christmas? Come on,
everyone.
No,
hey,
just for us.
Gifts, man.
My parents better get me an automatic garage door opener, Mom, if you're listening.
Come on.
Yeah.
And anybody listening to this podcast, there's gonna be a wish list attached
my
to this.
Venmo is
link below.
Yeah, click the link below, subscribe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've just kind of been doing like more meaningful like gift ideas. So for our anniversary, we both like brought in money and we're like, we're gonna finish at least decorating the inside. So we got that done. Now our next step, our birthdays are both right next to each other and they come next. We're going to finish paying off the furniture. I only have $500 left. I'm freaking pumped. And then the next step will probably be Christmas and us doing the landscaping around the front. So we're just going to keep doing things like that until we get the house like really where we want it to be. Which I like because it's more purposeful, because if I want something, I'm going to go out and buy it.
That's awesome though that y'all are both on the same page about it.
Yeah.
That communication, it speaks a lot about both
absolutely.
of y'all,
That's something we had to learn, like with communication, because Dylan's 2 years younger than me, so like he was still partying it up in a fraternity for 2 years while I was teaching. Yeah, that was so cute. So we had to learn like communication and just the different stages of life, and this is just one of those other stages that we're like working through and like learning how to do stuff together and making an investment. Because I really feel like this property, like kind of like you said, into real estate, this property probably in 10 years will probably move somewhere more middle ground for us. Like we could probably only have like one kid in this house, or like maybe two if they're small, but it'll eventually just become a rental property.
But if they're tall, it's a no-go.
I know.
Just kidding.
I'm tall too, so yeah. So it's been really good, and I'm like really proud to have bought a house. And I would just say like,
you should be very proud. That's a huge accomplishment.
That's
amazing. That's freaking
and
awesome. You did
to
it by
anyone
yourself.
who would like want to do it, it's like just go do it. Like co-create the life that you want to have. If you want to like know that you've done this on your own, go do it on your own.
100%.
That's
100%. That's so awesome. In all the topics that you've talked about, I feel like it's the online factor in the way you have that mentality of like, I'm gonna create the life that I want to create. And even that means by now allowing other people's emotion to affect me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when you talked about like how I feel, you're like, okay, it's moved on. You're not going to disrespect me, but, you know, I'm going to continue with my life. And you dictate your own happiness. So commend you for that.
Thank you.
But I know you said it wasn't exactly one thing, but do you think there's anything that made you that way? That's so like, in a way, you're so resilient. By the way you speak.
Tell us something.
Tell us the
what is your
secret?
Give us your fucking secret.
I really like, I don't know. I think that you create the life you love. You wake up with the same 24 hours in a day. Express gratitude, treat people with kindness, and do literally whatever you want to do. If on January 1st, 2021, you want to start a podcast, buy the equipment now. Like, if you want to run a marathon, start training. Like, when you have a goal in mind, take action. Like, something that I know that helps me is like goal check-ins, because like the journal in front of me, like I write my goals in, and then I go do like check-ins. So I would say do a week check-in, a month check-in, and a year check-in. And like on June 1st, 2020, I went back in my journal because I was at the halfway point of my goals. That's where I should have been. So just staying goal-oriented. Like a tip I have is like in my iPhone, you know, you can like bullet point in your notes in your iPhone. And when you check them off, it checks it off your list. So I, on Sundays, take 15 minutes to lay out my entire week and what I want to get done in that week. And as I go through my week, I check it off. So a typical day would be like Monday, wake up 5:30, be getting ready for work by 6:30, out the door by 7:30. Then I just like block off school because anything can happen in there.
Those are crazy times.
Yeah, and then I come back and I do the rest, and I just check it off as I go and just stay goal oriented. And but it also helps that, you know, my parents raised somebody who is very independent, and I really was raised with, you can do anything you want to do, but you have to take that first step.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what people like lose is they don't know. They're either not confident or they don't know they have the power to do that.
Or they're waiting for someone else to take that first step for them.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're waiting on the step, go take the step. This is your sign, essentially. So that's just how I am. And, you know, I do everything 100% and I'm like a no excuse person. That is a flaw sometimes to me because I don't often have a lot of sensitivity for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a flaw in my teaching. I'm like, why are you crying? Move on, move forward.
But not everybody can be that strong, right? And
yeah, I know. So it's just, I don't know, read, educate yourself, listen to others, and then just grow confidence from within you, I think.
I really like that, how you said about how you write your goals that you want to get done in the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing this thing like a few weeks ago. It's called like a weekend bucket list. So on Friday night, I'll write down what I want to get done on the weekend since weekends are my days off.
Yeah.
And I'll put like maybe like edit the podcast, do a photo shoot, do a video for my YouTube channel or whatever. And once I like check all those off and it's still Saturday, I'm like, dude, I have the whole weekend for free now. Like, I can do whatever I want to do now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, something else that maybe our audience could use to get stuff done.
I think you just have
productive.
to learn to believe in yourself. Like with your photography, like you might not have just randomly been like, oh, I'm going to pick up this camera and I hope this passion grows. It was like, I'm going to try it and now I'm going to push it and now I'm going to build an Instagram and now I'm going to market it and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to, you know, you have to kind of do a lot of self-reflection. Like that might look like therapy, that might look like reading, but you've got to find ways to believe in yourself first.
Yep.
And I just know that I know I'm not going to fail because I'm not going to, and if I do, I'm going to grow from it. And I don't consider that a failure.
Yeah, because you're learning.
Yeah.
So just, I mean, I probably won't ever meet your parents, but just tell them I said, wow, they did an amazing job because it's like your fundamentals and values are just so strong that, and also like something that, you know, as well is like that self-confidence comes from that self-love that you were also projected by your parents. So, and it allows you to do so many great things. And that's so cool for me, especially like I always said, I'm a girl dad. You know, and I want to raise strong women. It's like such a goal for me.
Yeah.
And so just seeing that is just like it reiterates kind of my thought process. I want to make them independent. I want to make them self-assured, and I want to be able to, when they get older, be like, I'm gonna do things for myself, and I'm gonna take that first step.
And being selfish isn't bad.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
And a bunch of people think like I think that's
with
like
your energy, your time.
A big problem is that people think like selfish is like a negative word. It's not. Be selfish because you only get this life. Be selfish, love fully in the process, and you're gonna make it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's awesome.
That's freaking awesome, man. That's some great
stuff.
But I mean, that's kind of feel like closing comments. But anything else? Anything you wanted to say? I mean, that was some great stuff. Finish it off.
No, thank y'all so much for letting me talk your ear off.
No, you did amazing.
And this has been awesome. And like I said, I've loved the podcast. I listen weekly, and it has been amazing to be here with you guys. And thanks for letting me spread my message of
for sure
being kind, being yourself, and doing 110% any moment of your day. So
that's freaking awesome. That's a one way to freaking kick it off.
And we swear we want to make shorter podcasts, but we just keep having such great guests. It's because we have amazing guests,
man. Yeah, you know, what can we do? We can't do it to our listeners. You know,
we can't cut it out. I mean, where do you want us to stop? At the social dilemma? No. At the house buying part? No. We can't stop. We just got to keep going.
Yeah. But for sure. But Martin, any closing statements for you, sir?
No, I mean, like just everything that she brought up in this conversation. I feel like it's very actionable steps if you want to be more productive, right? About even from writing down a list of things you want to do. How she was saying about time that you think you don't have, that you actually do have. All you have to do is just like
make it a priority.
Make it a priority and flip that switch in your brain that's telling you all this negative stuff that you don't have time, you're tired, you don't want to do it, and just switch it to, okay, I got 30 minutes here, I got 20 minutes there, I can do this, I can do that, and then just keep moving forward. I think a lot of good points brought up in this podcast. I mean, we have to go. This is definitely a listen through again.
Yeah,
we had so many good things.
Amazing. But what about you, Ariel? Any closing statements?
First of all, I mean, thank you so much for sharing everything. Second, there's people that think about it. There's people that talk about it, and there's people that do it.
Be a doer.
Be a doer.
Yeah.
Be a doer.
Yeah.
For sure, man. First of all, how's your finger, bro? It was a crazy start to this podcast,
the
guys. The
shots,
way it got
Definitely
going. You're doing good. No, but kind of seriously, thank you so much for coming. It really, I knew this was gonna be great because I see like what you post throughout your social media. Your message is very similar and reflects to what you've spoken here. That positivity, that like confidence you have, and I feel like it's gonna resonate a lot, real well with our listeners. And it's so much value. So just a million thanks to you, and thank you so much for coming here. And you really are such a cool person, and just keep doing that. And it's awesome to see like where you're gonna be at in 10, 15, 20 years from life, because I know you say teaching's for you, but I'm sure one day like you're gonna want to affect 10,000 students at a leadership level, or maybe right, or wherever that is for you. But I think that's so dope. So that's it for me.
That's it, man.
Yeah,
Great
so thank
episode.
you so much, guys, for listening. Episode 7, fun fact, most podcasts don't make it past episode 7. We have episode 8 scheduled, so we're making it.
Here we go.
Because we have these awesome guests. So
Good
thank you so
job,
much for
guys.
listening, guys. Peace.
Bye. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Please, you.